I love making brooches because they enable me to work freely. I see them as a collection of individual sculptures that you can wear. Hi, I'm Lucy Anderson. I'm an artist jeweller and I live and work in West Sussex. I spend a lot of time visiting art galleries. I love the way clever fashion designers put a seam or a button in a clever place. I find inspiration everywhere, but what I'm always looking for is a little frisson, a little buzz, or a wow, I love the fact they've done that. That shouldn't be there, or where's everything else? That is so simple, that line on the canvas. And I admire the courage of artists and designers to just do that, and that's the work. The inspiration often is the energy that somebody's put into their work rather than the work itself. I really want to bring that into my work. A sense of humour and a playfulness and the courage to just do this. I love geometrical pattern and shape. It's very important where I place that pattern, or how I cut or fold or put a hole or a space in the work. They're all intrinsic to the design. I also love mathematics, so I use a lot of maths in my designs. I always design on graph paper. I have a collection of vintage graph papers that sometimes actually can influence the design depending on the way the squares are aligned. And I often use the golden ratio to work out the proportions that I need for the piece to be aesthetically pleasing. The collection I've made for Shine is called Circle Grid, and it's a collection of 9 brooches. The first grid I ever made was inspired by the oyster net made by Annie Turner. I loved it. It was on display in the V&A. It looks like a metal piece, it's a ceramic piece, and I loved the grid element of it. And what I really loved as well was the curvature in the net. I then made my first grid brooch, and the curves in my grid brooch were reflecting the curves in Annie Turner's work. And since then I've continued to make my grids. I'm also inspired by the works of Agnes Martin and Gago, and then some of my other works are inspired by artists such as Bridget Riley and Barbara Hepworth, and then textile designers such as Sonia Delaunay and Annie Albers. There's all the circles and squares and grids that I enjoy. I enjoy working out the best way and the best techniques in my head forever. I spend a lot of time in my head imagining and designing. When I'm making one of my grid brooches, I draw an outline of the sort of size of the internal part of the brooch I'd like. So this one here is 8 centimetres, and then basically I sketch with the wires that I've pre-straightened or curved. I can always go again with pliers to change it, and then I move them around until I create something that I find aesthetically pleasing. I like them to overlap, to come off that 8 centimetres randomly, and I might snip bits off in time. So fundamentally I'm trying to create something that I like, really. And whilst the techniques are very straightforward, there's a lot of filing and piercing and finishing. It's the retaining the minimalism and the simplicity that gives me the challenges. What's a really important part is whether it's going to work. I've tried with a brooch pin, and I need to keep it totally hidden. I really like circle cut fold brooch. It's probably the most challenging of the pieces in the collection for its simplicity. I had a beautiful piece of graph paper to design it on, which was wrapped round, and then I could work out the placing, the angles of the cut and the fold. So I often find the pieces that challenge me most are the pieces I end up loving the most, because I think I've put so much of myself into it.